never perform that poorly.
Dude,
Don't look at the
absolutely
Lucian
nuts.
game. That's
Okay, okay. All right, streams live. So the the general idea that I have is like let's kind of talk about what the jungle is, talk about what the like role is here to do, like where should your head be at when you're playing jungle as opposed to like playing lanes, like what are the differences,
okay.
and like how then can we like use these conclusions that we come to actually like focus your improvement at the role. So like we're gonna stay like real big, real abstract for most of this. It'll probably be a lot of like going into like Rift Kit and just like here are like crazy ideas that you can have, right? So, am I screen sharing? It looks like I am. Yeah. Or you just pulled
No,
it up. You just
yeah, I
pulled
just
up Rift. Holy crap! Okay, that was so weird. I like pulled up Rift Kit and I was like, it's up on the screen. What? Huh?
I pulled it up before you even mentioned it. My brain is
Wow!
fucking huge.
Absolute cockpog. So let's see here. Um, so I'll start with a question then. So,
Okay.
how do you understand the jungle role? What is the purpose of a jungler in League of Legends?
Uh, Part of the purpose is making use your team making use of the entire map.
What do you
So
mean
if you
by
don't have
that?
a jungle, well, if you don't have a jungle, then there's two fucking like huge sections of the map that are basically never touched. You're losing on them. You could have just a second top laner, but then you don't have,
Mm.
you don't have these huge, you know,
Yeah,
fucking
so
I
you
don't know,
need
like
to you need to
300
have somebody that's
300 gold.
actually collecting the golden experience from the jungle camps. Yes.
Yeah. So it's like the same as the reason you push a lane into the enemy turret is you force an
Mm-hmm.
enemy to go over there so they're not missing. They're
Sure.
they're not putting their team behind in gold and
Yes. And is that like a hard forced, like their champion is forcibly dragged from where they are to where it is, like a fucking like blitzcrank hook, or is that a soft force?
that's soft force.
Yeah. So similarly, do you need a jungler in League of Legends? Is it a hard rule that you jungle, or is it a soft rule?
Uh, I mean, you don't need to, but you're probably best off doing it.
Yeah, exactly. It's a soft rule, but it's about as close to a hard rule as a soft rule will ever get,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And the way that gets bent is what, right? Like what are things that people have done actually recently that are alternatives to jungling?
Uh,
Everyone usually calls it like get this cancer out of my game, if that gives you a hint. People are very upset that it exists.
I'd probably say funneling,
Yeah,
maybe.
yeah. So why do I bring up funneling? How is that similar to jungling in the context of what we just talked about?
Well, another part of jungling is like as I say top lane. Top lane looks like a 1v1 lane, but it's really a 2v because we have these junglers, right?
True. So
They
junglers gank
never
things.
fucking go top lane, but you get the idea.
Yeah.
Here we'll say mid lane instead.
Mm-hmm.
Top lane's
Mm-hmm.
definitely an I, but
True.
so and in funneling, it makes mid lane. It's similar because you have two people mid,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and I
Yeah,
mean
and
you
then they
have the
go in
guy
the
going through the
jungle, and
jungle,
then they clear those
getting
camps, and then they
through.
clear mid camps as well, and so it's sort of like
Yes,
their resources are they're playing two champions that are both half jungling and half laning, and so
yes,
there's no jungler and no mid laner. There's just two funnelers, right? And you're still making use of all of the resources on the map, but then Riot adds conditions to the game that make that less efficient. And so they adjust the hard rules of the game to make a soft rule that funneling is bad, right?
mm,
And that's the means by which they accomplish that is by changing the payoffs of that strategy by adding conditions to the Monster Hunter passive on jungle items, right? That's been their solution, is to do that sort of thing. So we've actually just touched on something really important, I think, about what like the jungle role is from like an identity kind of a standpoint, right? Which is that they gank, right? That is what makes it different from funneling, right? Is you take the camps in the jungle and then you gank things, right? And that's what makes you a jungler. So
I mean, not my junglers, but yeah.
True. Strongly agreed. Some junglers, so in the same way that laners can roam, right? And so it's like, it's a soft identity, right? Junglers are a hard part of the identity is that junglers primarily gain their income from farming jungle camps, right? Like that's kind of what makes you a jungler, is that you're primarily gaining gold from jungle camps. As a soft part of the identity, most junglers gank to some degree.
Yeah.
Not all of them gank, but most of them gank. One could argue about the definition of what is a gank, and then you get into some really hairy semantics, and we just won't, because I think you know what a gank is. So, but like you can ask all sorts of philosophical questions like is Karthus pressing R a gank? You know what I mean? And it's like is that a gank? Like, is that not a gank? Is Karthus pressing R from mid lane a gank? Is it a gank or not a gank, depending on whether he's in a jungle or not? You know what I mean? It's like this is like weird, wacky stuff.
I'd say it's a gank.
Yeah, right. So
you're not forcing anyone's thumbs generally, but
no, you're forcing their life is what you're forcing. Jesus.
Yeah.
But
exactly. Death is the best CC. So.
True. Strongly agreed. Longest duration. So given that these are kind of the things that make jungling, right? The idea of farming jungle camps and the ideas of ganking, these are kind of the two things that we're going to focus the most on when we think about like what is jungling. Because realistically, as mid and late game hit, junglers just become champions, because all champions become champions once mid game hits. They're no longer tied to a certain like lane. They're no longer, really like dictated like what their role is in the team. You can kind of have different people do different things, right? So the main kind of so those are kind of our two big topics. Is like what is this whole kind of like ganking thing about, and how do we clear our camps, right? So
okay, well wait, actually I just realized I have something to pull.
Sure.
Let me find it. Because I've done a short session on jungling with my boy Eladair. So I have something.
Sure. Okay, cool. Yeah. So here's some stuff.
This is my note-taking skill. It's the only thing I'm sort of I don't know, maybe 12.5.
Beautiful.
Yeah, fuck it. Can you read that?
Can, definitely.
Cool.
So strong side, weak side, general macro decisions, some kind of 1v1 matchups, and some heuristics on who wins what. The idea of rubber banding and the idea of pathing. So, okay. So, when we, yeah. So explain to me your understanding of each of these concepts and how they relate to jungling.
Well, strong side, weak side kind of adds something that I would sometimes do, and I played top lane at the time, which, as I said, is a massive island. There's no reason for me to give a fuck about the rest of my team. It's a joke. But strong side, weak side, this isn't something I generally did when I played top lane. It's still not something. I'll do it sometimes playing mid lane, but not usually. And that's looking at my teammates and the enemy champions in in the pregame, and not in the pregame, but in the loading screen, and
Sure.
kind of using that downtime to figure out, like kind of theorize, uh, or that's too big a word for me. I can't say that. Hypothesis, hypothesis,
Hypothesis. Nice.
hypothesize. There you go.
Yeah.
I
Hypothesis
kind
is
of,
the noun, hypothesize is the verb.
yeah, exactly.
So,
I was just having trouble with the verb.
gotcha.
Kind of hypothesize which lanes they're going to be pushing and which lanes are not going to be, which lanes are weak and which lanes
Mm-hmm.
are strong.
Right.
So if I have a bot lane that's, I don't know, say,
Mm-hmm.
maybe Draven Thresh,
Mm-hmm.
that's probably going to be a pretty strong lane compared
Mm-hmm.
to,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, Soraka Lucian.
Sure.
Um, just because they're more aggressive. They have less wave clear, I think, um, because neither Draven nor Thresh have very very high wave clear. But
Let's make it for the weak lane. Let's make it Twitch Brom, just to make it
there,
like
that's
that much
that's a better
more
one. Yeah,
disgustingly awful,
yeah. Um,
so that it's much clearer.
so that would be a strong lane for my Draven Thresh.
Sure.
They're going to be pushing into the enemy generally. They're going to be aggressive.
Yeah.
Uh, and because of that, they're also going to be very difficult for me to get because they're going to be up there. If I wanted to
Mm-hmm.
gank them, it would probably be a tower dive or a lane gank from a bush.
Mm-hmm.
I would have to rely on the enemy pushing into the, you know,
Mm-hmm.
getting further out in the lane, which is
So the
unlikely.
idea of strong side, weak side in terms of jungling relates to which of the two. How does it relate to these two things that we're gonna kind of center all of our discussion around? How does it relate to clearing our jungle, and how does it relate to ganks?
Right. Um, to clearing our jungle, if I have a weak side, I'm not very good at ganking strong side. Maybe there's a way to do it that I don't know about, but if I have, say, a weak side top lane who isn't inting, then
Mm-hmm.
if I'm fresh out of a recall, I would go to my top side jungle, I would clear that, and I would start
Yeah,
looking for a
so
gank.
there's the general kind of heuristic of like clear towards somewhere that you can gank,
Yes.
right? And strong side and weak side are kind of trying to get at this idea that like some lanes, because of the kind of natural way that the matchups play, are going to have different like lane positions that are sort of normal, right, for the matchup, right?
Right.
And so when you're trying to think about, okay, like I'm going to clear my jungle and then I'm going to try to gank somewhere, right? Like where are the gank opportunities more likely to occur? Because it's not, you don't get to look at them now. You have to think like 30 seconds into the future when you're actually
Yes.
like deciding where to go, right?
Right.
And so in order to help us make this prediction, we think about strong side and weak side, right? So it involves it involves clearing the jungle because it determines the path that we will. It helps us to inform like what path we should take to clear our camps, and it informs our ganking because it's going to basically give us some kind of a guess as to where ganks are going to be more likely to be successful versus less likely to be successful.
Right.
So that would be what I would kind of say there. So what does that feel the same as how you understood it or different? And if different, how is it different?
Uh, kind of felt the same, but I'm not well skilled in being able to
Sure.
predict
Knowing
30
how to do it,
seconds in the future.
knowing what it is and knowing and actually being able to do it are two totally different things, right?
Yes.
So this was essentially how you understood it before in terms of like what it is, but you're still not great at identifying what strong side is and what weak side is, right?
I feel like I can identify it pretty well.
So what's causing you to be like iffy on it then?
I can only really identify it, in the pregame. However, the pregame doesn't always match up with.
Aha. So you feel like you can make some kind of guess in pregame based on the champions, but then you get into game and the reality just doesn't match what you predicted.
Yeah, and
Okay, fair.
yeah,
So
I can identify
how
it
can we
also
fix that?
in the moment, but I can't like you said, we need to predict that shit like 30 seconds in the future, and
Sure.
I just can't do that. Like I can
Mm.
look at my bot lane and be like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, they're shoved up. That's a strong lane right
Mm-hmm.
now, but I don't know
Yes.
what it's going to be in 30.
Right. Okay. So this is actually one of the core skills of a jungler is like wave foresight. To be
Yes.
able to look at a lane and be like, in 30 seconds, here's what'll happen. And the great thing about this is that you can totally drill the shit out of this, dude. It's actually so easy to drill this. You know how you drill it? You go into a stream, you of like a laner, okay? And you like look at
Right.
their lane and you're like, where where is this lane gonna be in
In
30
30 seconds.
seconds? Yeah, right?
So that's why
And
it's
then you
valuable.
watch the stream, and then in 30 seconds you look again and you say, was I right? If I was right, then great. If I wasn't right, what did I not predict?
Cool. I have a reason to watch I'm a Cutie Pie.
Poggers. Yeah, no, seriously, though, like you can do that,
Yeah,
and
yeah, yeah, yeah.
you can also another thing that you can do is because lanes in your games are going to play out very differently than most lanes that you'll see on stream. You can also like look at your replays and just like cringe at what your laners are doing
Yeah.
and like do it there too, right?
Fucking usually.
So
Yeah.
like be conscious of that. The game that you're playing and the game that streamers are playing are going to look pretty different.
Yeah, they're very different games.
So it's not to say that watching streamers is going to be bad, but just like watch them with like a grain of salt, right?
Yeah.
Especially the like higher up you go. Like watch NA solo queue. Don't watch fucking Faker in Korea, because Faker in Korea, every lane is just completely different.
Yeah.
None of the matchups look the same as the way that they're going to be played in your elo. It's just going to be totally wacky. So
Well, then, in that case, this may be, I don't want to call it easy, but it will be much easier than my previous attempts because, I've been playing mid lane, I've been playing top lane, and I've been learning a lot about how, how lanes work and how minions work. What, what a wave is probably going to do. What certain wave management looks like. And yeah, that's why it's valuable for a jungler to learn how to lane.
yes, and that's in fact a big part of why I feel like it's good to learn lanes before you learn the jungle, because if you already have a decent idea of like how a bunch of different matchups are going to go at like a surface level, that helps
Yeah.
you a lot as a jungler, because then you can look at the lanes and be like, oh, like this is what's going to happen, right? And the better you are at predicting that stuff, the better off you're going to be. Another thing too that I think it's kind of important to mention is like when you make predictions, they don't have to be one-dimensional predictions. You don't have to be like 100% this is where it'll be, right? You can be
Yeah.
like, all right, if he's good, then it'll be here. If he's bad, it'll be here, right?
Right.
And those are, like percentage outcomes, right? And
Yeah.
you can make your predictions more complex, right? And that's more brain power, but it's going to give you a more accurate result. So so that's strong side, weak side in a nutshell. So let's talk about this model of like decisions that he's given you. So
Okay.
how do you understand that concept? What's going on there?
Well, kind of in the same way as in a lane. Let's say I'm playing mid, right?
Sure.
And say my laner is away, whatever. Who gives a shit? I shove minion into his tower.
Yes.
I have a lot of time now to go and do stuff, and I think it's the same way in jungle. I can, as a mid laner, I can go and I could put a ward on the enemy blue buff. I could, look for a roam bot. I could
Yeah.
back. And in the jungle, it's much the same way, except they can choose to make these decisions at any time. They don't have to worry too much about lane positions. I mean, they have to worry about lane positions in the event of a roam or a gank or whatever. But
Okay. Actually, I'm gonna stop you right there, and I'm gonna say, actually, I think that there is a really fantastic analog for lane positions in the
really,
jungle. I actually think that there's something that's very similar that fulfills almost the same role as lane positions for a jungler. Can you imagine what that might be?
uh, camp timers.
Why do you say that?
Well, if my red buff is about to come up, it's probably not a great idea for me to put a ward up in the, enemy top brush.
Why not?
Well, I'm kind of leaving my red open, aren't I? I mean, it kind of depends on the state of the
Exactly.
laners.
Yes, it does depend on the state of laners, and this is what makes it different than laning. But you're right. That's what I was thinking of, is this idea of camp timers, right? And it's like, which camps in are going to be up and down is in the same way for laners. It's like those are your resources, right?
Yeah.
And you want to be around to collect those resources at some point, right? And
Yes.
you want to protect them, and you want to, try to get them, right? Like, that's like, collecting resources is an important part of playing League of Legends, right? Like, I don't need to go any deeper than that, right? So a lot of your decisions as a jungler are going to be like, okay, it's in many ways going to be farm or something else. You know what I mean?
Right.
And
Yeah.
you can in many cases you can kind of delineate it that way, right? And it's like, there's all of the camps over here on the one side, right? How does this relate to clearing our jungle? Well, oh, look, like the camps, right? There's stuff there, right? And then ganking kind of includes, it doesn't actually include invading and mission control and objectives and like skirmishes and stuff like that and recalling. It doesn't actually, but like, we can think of like everything else as part of like the other bin, right? So it's like, do I farm and get stronger, or do I use the strength that I have to go do something productive, right? Would be the way that I would kind of think of it, right? And in that go do something productive bin, you have all of these things that he has down under decisions, right? You can gank, you can invade, you can get down vision, you can take an objective, you can force a fight, you can recall, right? And so the interesting thing for junglers is that camps function differently than creeps, right? In a lane,
Dota player right here.
when you CS, right,
Yeah.
you're generally spending like time and auto attacks. Those are like what you're giving up, and what you're receiving is golden experience. In the jungle, similarly, you're gaining golden experience by killing your camps, but you're giving up much more than just auto attacks. Generally, you're giving up auto attacks, time, and health, right? There's actually a cost to clear the jungle. The camps fight back in a way that the minions, if you are playing it, in the traditional way, generally don't, right? Minions only conditionally fight back, depending on whether you're trading at the same time.
Right, yeah.
So you're always kind of giving up like a certain amount of like a health cost, and since
Mana cost.
yeah, and a mana cost as well. And you can think of like pushing a lane as sometimes having a mana cost as well, because if you want to shove it out, then sometimes you need to do abilities to do that as quickly as possible.
Right.
But in the jungle, again, it's it's not a hard requirement, but it's a much harder requirement than in a lane, that you generally spend your abilities on the camps, right? So that can be a thing. The other thing is like, what is the method of respawn, right? When we think about a camp, it respawns some amount of time after you kill it. Where a minion, doesn't matter when it dies, it just is going to spawn every 30 seconds on a timer, right? So here's a really interesting thing. When you think about like how much golden experience is generated by like your like resource pool, and by resource pool I mean like your lane or your jungle, right? It's a little bit different in the lanes than in the jungle, right? In the lanes, every 30 seconds new resources spawn, and so like the power curve is very smooth. You kind of get what I'm saying, right? Like if you're in lane to catch all of the minions, then like the amount of resources you can have and the amount of resources the enemy can have are identical, right?
Right.
But
The
this
gold
is
would differ, but you'd still have the same experience.
yeah, yeah,
I
because
mean, if you had
assumably
CS,
it's
yeah.
the same if all of you get all of the CS, right? If
Yeah,
we go
yeah,
that
yeah.
simple, right? But in the
But that's
jungle,
not the same for junglers because we
right?
have different clear times.
Exactly. And so your
The
clear
pathing
time
is
actually determines in some ways how many resources the jungle even provides, right? It's not how many you
right.
collect, it's how many it provides. Now isn't that a wacky idea, right?
Kind of
If you
makes sense, yeah.
if you clear the jungle faster, your jungle literally gives more golden experience than the other guy's jungle does, right?
Yeah.
That's wacky, right? That's way different than like anything else, right? And it's
Oh,
capped by like how long does it take you to move? You
right.
know what I mean? Because the camps spawn in different locations. In the lane, it's just the lane. You just stay there, right? But for the camps, it's not only how fast can you kill the camps, but how fast can you move between camps. And people talk. This is actually just like as a short aside. This is actually something that I've like realized about Graves in particular. People talk about Graves as having like a really powerful clear time, and I was always like, why? Like I like clear with him, and it doesn't feel like it's that quick clearing the camps.
I don't know, just
And
be a better jungler.
yeah, right. But like it just felt like the stats weren't there. You know what I mean? Like I can't clear the camps that quickly. Why? What is it about him that's like fast? And then I realized because you are ranged, you get to aggro the next camp faster, and it's like the range of like what you can be clearing the like circle that you can within which you can do damage is bigger. You're actually spending less dead time between camps than most junglers are.
Right. Okay.
Because you can go immediately from like last auto on red to like the next auto on raptors without missing an auto attack timer, right?
Right. Yeah.
And so it's kind of like being Lee Sin, where you like Q to your next camp or something like that, you know? And like that is like his range is actually something that significantly increases his clear speed. Is basically where I'm going with this.
Right. That makes a lot of sense.
So that was like a thought that I hadn't heard anybody else voice before, which is kind of interesting. But yeah, to return to the basic idea, like the faster you can clear your jungle and the more quickly you can actually move between camps, because as your damage increases to like infinity, like that's actually the gating factor more than anything else, is actually how quickly you can move more than how much damage do you deal, right? Like if you have like 300 movement speed but you one-shot the camps, like you're still going to clear slower than somebody that can also one-shot the camps but has 400 movement speed, right?
Yeah.
So movement speed and how efficiently you kite are just as important as how much damage you deal. And how much damage you deal is like primarily like what champion you're playing and what items you have, right? Like it's a stat
Yeah.
check, right? Where how you position and how you kite and how quickly you move, it's like partially stats, right? Because it's like what's your kit and like how much movement speed do you have. But it's also partially your clicks, right? It's where you choose to be and how you choose to use your abilities, right? Which leads us to one of the major skills of jungling, which is just clearing, right? Like, are you literally using your abilities in the right order at the like right targets and like
Yes.
kiting properly, right? And when you go from clearing inefficiently to clearing efficiently, it is the same as learning to CS better in lane, right? In both cases, the total golden experience that you get over a set period of time goes up, right? As a jungler, that might be because now you're like exiting into the river like 6 seconds sooner, 10 seconds sooner. And so you can go like do your next thing that much more quickly, right? Whereas
Right.
as a laner, it's just like you like literally collect more of the resources that are already there, right? Does that all make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
So like for mid lane or top lane,
Yeah.
your resources are coming in steadily, like every 30 seconds or whatever.
Yes.
You get a win. You take that.
Mm-hmm.
for jungler, your resources come at you directly correlated to your clear speed.
Yes.
So, you know, you have a high clear speed, bam, bam, bam. You
Yeah.
have 6 seconds of extra time to
To
do
go do
something
something
else.
else. And this is the
Yeah.
way that I'll have you think about it, right? Every moment that a camp exists and is not like being killed is like bleeding gold.
Right. Okay. Yeah, that makes a lot of
Does that make
sense.
sense? Yeah, right? It's
Yeah,
like
yeah, I totally
as
understand.
as and now that I'm going to caveat that with like that sounds super fucking serious, okay? Like holy shit, you better fucking clear your camps, right? And like
Yeah.
on the one hand like it is, on the other hand, what makes it not like holy shit you need to clear your camps is there's an opportunity cost, right? Very often you can actually generate more golden experience by going for a gank or an invade or taking an objective or setting up vision or
Yeah.
whatever, right? Than by clearing the camp, right? But clearing the camp is always your baseline, right? If the action that you take as a jungler is not better than clearing a camp, you're inting,
Right. Okay, that makes a lot of sense.
right?
So if I go bot and I accomplish literally nothing,
Yeah,
like
if you
no
sit
thumbs
in the
per.
bush and like the enemy doesn't lose any CS for you having been there and they like kind of look at you funny and your like land looks at you funny and then you
They're
like do a little
or I'm
dance.
inting. I'm inting.
Yeah. And then you like go
Yeah.
back into your jungle. You literally just bled however much gold you could have gotten by clearing a camp.
Okay.
It's like
That
missing
is
CS as a
new
laner.
perspective. Yeah, that is a new perspective.
Cool.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. So this should give you some intuition of like how important it is that you A clear enough camps, right, to keep up, right? Like that's fucking huge. And B that you understand what you can get when you go do something else, right?
Right.
Because if you misjudge what you can get and you end up getting nothing, it's like missing CS.
Okay.
And it's about as serious as missing CS, if that makes sense, right? It's like when you think about missing CS in lane, like is it like oh god, like the lane is over? Like no, it's not. If you sit in a bush and wait for a gank and it doesn't happen, is the game over? No, it's not. But it's bad, right?
Yeah.
It's the
and
same
it's
amount
like
of
a
bad.
step closer. A step closer to
Yeah,
having a loss.
yeah, yeah. It's bad in the same way and about with the same like degree of seriousness.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
you can use that as kind of a model to think about it. So let's see what else. So so when you look at each of these things, ganking, invading, vision control, objectives, fighting, and recalling, right?
Right.
Currently, how do you make these decisions? How do you decide what to do as a jungler?
Well, I suppose there's a hierarchy, right?
Okay, what's your hierarchy?
I think at the top of the list would be counter gang, if I'm
Okay.
available to do it.
Let's go ahead and list this out. Bring up another notepad or something like this. Let's actually write it down.
Oh, here I can. That's probably how you spell that.
C comes before the H, but other than that, I think it's
Yeah, you're right. But you know what? I'm gonna keep it like that.
HEI. I think it's like this actually. Oh my god, what the I clicked on the
Yeah, man. Come on, don't say any bad words.
Okay.
Yeah, the C definitely goes before the H, but I'm just gonna leave it
There we
like
go.
that and hope that it bothers.
I'm botting.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So go ahead. So you say counter ganking comes at the top of the list. So why is that?
So yeah, I'd say counter ganking would come at the top of the list, assuming that I am in a position to say I'm taking my raptors in the enemy jungle ganks.
Sure, yeah. Let's not worry about like,
Let's not
is
worry
it
about the
available or
situation.
anything. Let's just talk about like if all things are available, what's the best and what's the worst?
I would say objective probably comes before farming.
Okay.
I would say that farming would probably go before invade, because invading is potentially the same as farming, except you're making a bigger risk.
Okay.
Vision would probably go before invades, because vision takes less time than an invade, so
Okay.
therefore less risk.
Go ahead and specify for me river vision then.
River vision? Well, that would
When
be
you say vision.
scuttle.
I'm just saying
scuttle.
on the list. Say for me vision.
River.
Say for
vision?
me river vision, because I when I think vision, I include also vision in the enemy jungle.
Yes. Say that goes before objective.
Oh, so what is vision then? What were you thinking of when you thought of vision?
When I say vision, I say enemy jungle. I just say, like maybe I'm the
Oh,
blue
okay. So you're actually okay. So river vision and then okay. So sure. So specify jungle vision then, if that's what you meant by that.
Okay. Jungle vision.
Okay.
I would say more important than vision would be if there's a fight.
Okay.
Counter ganking, roaming to a fight, river vision, because I need the river vision to get an objective. So
Okay.
I probably would need jungle vision for that as well. So yeah.
Okay, so we're already starting to do some rearranging. I think this means that this is a good exercise, right?
I'll probably put jungle vision right here. Farming comes pretty low on the list.
Yeah, surprisingly low, doesn't it?
Yeah,
Isn't that weird?
because there's so many other like important things.
It's a lot of stuff that competes for your time as a jungler.
I would say, I would actually say probably ganking comes before farming.
Okay. But below objectives. It's better to get an objective than to gank.
Well, actually no, because I probably need to gank the relevant lane first.
So I've heard that actually, twice now, right? Like I would probably need this in order to be able to do that. So here's what I'll say then, right? If you're saying that, right, then that kind of says that like one is a step to doing the other.
Yeah. Right.
And so, is there any inherent value? Is there any inherent golden experience to be gained in River Vision?
Inherent? No, but it leads to a golden experience value.
It does. So what I'll say is, for the moment, let's ignore actions that don't result in actual like golden experience gain. So let's just cut out River Vision and Jungle Vision for the moment.
Cool.
And let's just talk about these first.
Okay. I don't think recalling should go on the list because maybe recalling should go on the list. Son of a bitch.
So, what is the inherent golden experience value of recalling?
I guess it doesn't actually have it. Not inherently, but
not inherently, right? It makes you stronger.
But you're going back. You're getting items now. Your clears faster.
Yeah.
Now your ganks better. But it's not inherent.
But inherent. Exactly. Not inherent. So we'll assume that you're coming at so to make this again simpler, right? And just kind of talk about some easier decisions, and then basically the thing about like vision and recalls is that like these are things that are competing for your time, but they're competing for your time conditionally, right?
Right.
They are
Yes.
tools with which you can achieve ends, right? And let's talk about what are the most valuable ends first, so that then you can say, okay, like this is what I'm playing for, and here's like the steps I need to go to do it, right? And like once we culminate in like achieving the like end goal, like that was like the play as like a distinct entity. Does that make sense?
Repeat that one time.
Okay, so I'm trying to set up this idea of a play, right?
Okay.
Which is the idea that you kind of come from base, or
Yes.
not a play, like a deploy, right? Where you come from base, you move onto the map, you do some shit that allows you to collect some resources, and then you go back to base at the end of it and you spend those resources. Then you go out onto the map for the next deploy, right?
Right.
This is like a cycle
Yeah,
that
okay.
happens many times per game, right? And so when we talk about each deploy, right, we can talk about like what was the value that you gained in that deploy, right? And so each of these, when we're talking about this decision hierarchy, we're talking about, okay, each of these are like potential goals that I could move towards, right? So which of these, and they're kind of like, these are different rewards that I could aim for, right? So which reward has the greatest value, right? If all of them are open to
Right.
me, what's the most important thing I can be doing, right? So let me put it this way, all right? So like if there's an open nexus, probably killing the open nexus is maybe the best thing to be doing, right? So the implicitly, okay, we're actually going to put something at the very top of the list, and I'm just going to have you slot it in there, and that is taking a tower, right?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
I put that in objectives, but I guess it is different from getting dragon.
Yeah, so we'll specify the difference
So,
between
yeah.
neutral objectives
So,
and
okay, yeah.
towers, right?
Also, by the way, getting the Nexus is not the most important thing. That's only 50 gold. All right. Red buff
True.
is like what? 130?
True.
Get a load of this guy.
Absolutely
Imagine getting
true.
1 CS taking dragon when you can get 4 taking rat.
Strongly agreed. So when we put this in perspective, right? Like taking the tower is your ultimate goal, right? Everything
Yes.
is in service of taking towers. If you do not take towers, you strong, hard, immutable game rule cannot win the game.
Yes.
Okay? Like physically it is impossible to win the game without taking towers,
Yeah.
okay? So you have to take towers. Every other thing on this list, counter ganking, fighting, ganking objectives, farming, this is all just in service of taking towers. If at any point you can take towers, you probably should. And I say probably because if you overstay and then die and then they get more towers, then that's bad, right? So like there's some amount of foresight required to be like, okay, like if we take this, like what tempo does that give them, and does that tempo allow them to get more than we got, right? And there's that whole kind of caveat there. But we're going to ignore that for the moment. We're going to ignore that and just say, assuming we can take all of these and that there's no negative side effects, which are the most important. So taking a tower is at the very top of the list. So what is the next most important thing among all of these? Do you still think that it's counter ganking? And if so, what's your argument?
Um, Counter ganking. I still believe that it's second on the list, and the reason I would say that is because, for reasons that I think I fully understand, but I'm not positive I fully
Okay.
understand. Counter ganking is stupid strong, and my theory is
Why? What
that
makes it
counter
super strong?
ganking. Well, my theory is that counter ganking is so strong because let's look at it this way, right? My top laners are fighting. This is pretty unrealistic, but my top laners are fighting.
Yeah, just present me the ideal
My
case. I'm fine with it.
my enemy jungler goes top lane.
Yeah.
In the time that it takes for me to counter gank and go top lane, they are spending cooldowns.
Yeah.
They're spending cooldowns. they're likely pushing my laner back to
Mm-hmm.
his tower.
Yeah.
That gives me an easy flank position. That gives
Mm-hmm.
a advantage of I have my abilities and they don't.
Yes.
Um, and so I think that it is more important to get my laner ahead, because if my laner is ahead, that gives me more options as a. If my laner is ahead, it's much more realistic for me to
Options.
be able to. It's more realistic for me to be able to take Rift Herald, or let's say I get my bot lane ahead. It's gives me dragons, and then those are
So if the
those
reason
are
that counter
what
ganking
wins the
is
game now.
important is because it allows you to take objectives, doesn't that say that objectives are actually better than counter ganking?
Hmm. All right, fair enough. Can't argue with that. Yeah.
Boom. Scienced.
It's I don't know, it's kind of awkward
Yeah.
because objectives are more important, but counter ganking is one of the steps to objectives.
It
No, I
is.
guess not, because it's a very
It can be.
situational.
It can be.
Yeah.
If you make a counter gank, that can be a way to make it easier to take an objective. But let me put it to you this way, right? If your choice is between counter ganking and then taking the objective versus just fucking taking the objective by walking up and taking it, which one do you like better?
If I'm choosing between counter ganking and taking an objective,
Or just taking it?
or just taking it, probably counter ganking.
Yeah, I
If
agree.
the gank goes well, which knowing me, mechanical god, it will.
True.
Then there's no enemy laner, there's no enemy jungler. I get a dragon.
Yeah. So if you can do both, then just do both, right?
Right.
Like that's fine, right? Either order is okay. But if it's a choice between counter ganking and not getting the objective, or getting the objective but missing the counter gank, which one do you like better?
Getting the objective but not getting the counter gank.
Why?
No, I was asking if
Oh, yes. That's the
uh
yeah. So if you have to choose, right? If it's either like you're like this is a really artificial problem, right? But imagine you
yes.
like walk into river and there's like a Kha'Zix doing Drake, but like the mid laner is also ganking your bottom lane as you like walk there, right? So you have to decide like, am I gonna go kill Kha'Zix and then like take the Drake, or am I gonna go help my bottom lane in the fight and let him take it? Which is better?
Wow, that is a hard one.
It is a hard one, isn't it?
Well, because
Why is it hard?
all right, well, just to play out each scenario, enemy jungles taking dragon.
Yep.
Enemy mid laner is roaming.
Bottom and is currently
I'm
in the
going
process of
to
ganking your bottom lane.
I'm going to assume that my mid laner is making the proper move and shove into the enemy turret. Let's just say
Yeah,
that's
sure,
what's happened.
sure. Yeah, they're not following.
Um,
It doesn't really matter
yeah.
what they're doing, but they're not following. They might be
So
in base, they might be pushing, might be roaming top.
for the same reason that a counter gank is good, they are with this roam, they're probably going to shove my laners closer to. Theoretically,
Yes.
this is good because then I can flank and it's a 3v3. However, once Kha'Zix takes that dragon, bam, it's a 4v3. Because now I'm caught out.
Let's
I'm in the
assume
middle of
that
four
him
people.
taking the Drake is high enough HP that he can't take it and then join, but he will take it by the time you're finished with the counter gank.
Huh.
He doesn't get to do both either.
Right. I think I would probably take the counter gank.
My intuition says the same.
If I take the counter gank again, if it goes successfully, which it will, because I'm a
True.
my bot lane's going to be stronger, and I can get future dragons easier.
So the notion here, you can say I can get future dragons easier, and when you say easier, what you really mean is easier than if I just take the Drake and let my bottom lane die.
Yes,
And you're correct. And that is because you can think of it in terms of rewards, right? If you go for the Drake in this situation, your reward is a kill on Kha'Zix and Drake, right? So 1 kill, 1 objective, right?
Yeah.
If you go bottom lane, then your reward is potentially 3 kills to 0.
Yeah.
Right? And 3 kills is better than 1 kill and a Drake. Does that sound correct?
Yes.
Okay. And if it's 3 kills on you as the jungler versus 1 kill on you, the jungler, versus and a Drake, is that any different than 2 kills on your AD carry, 1 on you as a jungler versus 1 on you as a jungler and the Drake?
If I have 1 kill on the jungler versus my AD carry having 2 kills and me having 1.
Yeah, so let's say like you gank bottom, you kill mid, and then your AD carry kills both of their bottom laners, right? Is that any different?
Yeah,
now, how about this? Actually, let me put it this way. What if your support gets all 3 of the kills? Okay. What if your support gets 3 kills, but and so it's the choice between your support gets 3 kills and you and your AD carry get nothing, versus you get a kill and your team gets the Drake. Which of those is better?
Well, if my support gets all 3 of the kills, it's not really nothing, is it?
No, it's not nothing.
Because,
it's your support getting 3 kills. It's neither less nor more than what it is.
At the very least, very least, these guys are at base. They're dead.
Yeah.
We push tower. We can potentially get a tower.
Now you're thinking with portals.
Yeah.
When you counter gank, very often that actually leads to tower damage. And that is why it is so powerful.
Oh.
That is why it feels so unbelievably insane. Your body correctly identified that was something that was really good, but your brain hadn't quite caught up to the like analytics of why.
Right. Okay.
It feels good because hitting towers feels amazing. It's the best feeling in League of Legends. That's the feeling of winning, dude. Like, so counter ganks are good because not only do you generally get the kills, but you generally also get to then push out and take towers. Where if you get kills on the jungler around the objective, sure, you get the objective, and the objective isn't bad. Objective is better than farming, for sure. But it's actually, like, insane. Because counter ganking gives you both kills and probably tower damage. So the reward of that play is generally super duper duper high. Super duper duper high.
Right.
And when we think about that versus just taking an objective, right? Which would you rather have? 3 kills and tower damage or a Drake, right? The answer is very clear.
I'm going to choose Raptors every time.
Yeah, right? Yeah. Yeah. True. So farming top of the list right under taking a tower. Strongly agree. So we can actually, I think at this point, we can actually move counter ganking up above objectives again. Right?
Playing with my mind, man.
Insane, huh? I'm not going to give you the right answer. We're going to come to it.
Yeah, of course.
So in this way, we can cognitize that what is a counter gank actually? It's like winning a fight and then also taking a tower. That's really what a counter gank represents.
Yeah. Okay.
So that's why it's so powerful. So then, if we think about it in this way, right? Now we're contrasting an objective, right? You take a Drake with a fight, right? Some number of kills. So how many kills is a Drake worth?
How many kills is a Drake worth?
Yeah.
It's a great question. I would say 2.
2. Okay.
Because if you take a Drake...
So in a game where you're playing... Let's see if I can figure this out. Let's say your team is... Corki, Nidalee... So Corki mid, Nidalee jungle. What's a good top laner? Like Udyr top, okay. And then we've got like Heimerdinger in the bottom lane paired with a support Karma. Okay.
What Ewa do you think I'm in?
All right, so let me hit you with this. So this is your team composition, okay? And the Drake is a Cloud Drake. All right. Ultimate CDR. Is that worth 2 kills?
It's worth a lot more on that team.
It's worth absolutely fucking nothing, dude. Those ultimates are garbage. Udyr doesn't even have an ultimate. He literally doesn't benefit from Cloud Drake.
It's constant movement speed, bro. It's a constant 40% movement.
Okay.
Bro, that's insane.
You get the movement speed if you get the soul. You don't get the movement speed if you get the Drake.
Just get sold. Then.
True.
It's that easy.
5 head. 5 head. No. 3 head. So the important thing that I'm kind of trying to drive home here is not all Drakes are equal. Not all team compositions make use of any of the different Drakes.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
So objectives is really kind of too broad of a term, actually, because it could be Rift Herald, it could be any number of different Drakes, and the value of each of those is going to depend on more than just like this is the value. It's like the value is, yeah, right. There you go. Baron, Rift, and Dragon. I like that better. Right.
Baron obviously is super.
Is Baron better than a counter gank?
Is Baron better than a counter gank? I'd say no.
Really?
Yeah. What, am I gonna fucking take it by myself?
True. So this runs into it's like the constraints of like what literally can actually happen as a jungler, right?
Yeah.
Which is maybe why we would say maybe Baron doesn't actually go on the list here, right? Because by the time Baron is actually an option, you're no longer a jungler, you're just a champion.
Yeah, okay, yeah, you're right about that. You're right.
So
still, Rift
counts
objectively a good thing, because if you get Rift, you're taking a fucking tower.
It's really good. Which is better, Rift Herald or a counter gank?
Ideally, Rift Herald or a counter gank. I'd still say a counter gank.
Why?
Well, counter gank, I'm doing tower damage. Rift Herald, I'm doing tower damage. However, if the counter gank goes well, potentially I'm taking.
Precisely.
Potentially.
Exactly. Yeah, it's
that's
potential
like
kills plus tower damage versus
yeah,
just a tower damage. Like, duh. Yeah, no, it's like literally better.
No brainer. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah. So counter ganking above Rift Herald.
Counter ganking is so strong.
It's insane, dude. It's so much value. It's like actually ridiculous. Counter ganks are so broken, dude. So Rift Herald versus Drake, which is better?
Rift Herald versus Drake. Rift Herald. Rift Herald is objectively good in every situation. Granted, I use it right.
What if none of your lanes can push out, and by the time you pop the Rift Herald, they're able to just like delete it, and you don't actually get it to charge into a tower?
It's a good question. What minute am I doing this at?
What minute? Oh, now you're not making a decision hierarchy. Now you're making a decision flowchart, which is good.
Right.
This is what I want. So, the point which I am driving home is that Rift Herald versus Dragon is roughly equal. That's actually like there's like times where one will be better than the other, and there's no like clear like this is better, right? Like it depends. Which is better, a Dragon or a Rift Herald? It depends. And what does it depend on? It depends on the situation of the waves. It depends on your team compositions. It depends on the matchups. It depends on the game state in general, right?
Yes.
Is what I will say, right? And you can think of a whole bunch of different things, right? But like it depends, right? A fight, right? So we'll just say, instead of a fight, let's just say kills.
Okay.
Right? Because that's really like that's the actual like reward here. Right, and
yes.
Ganking is essentially just kills, right? Like joining a fight in the river versus like going to a lane and starting a fight, like those are kind of actually the same thing when you get right down to it, right? Like they are done in different ways, but like the result is actually the same. The reward that you get is actually identical. People die.
Yeah.
So, you know.
I still don't know if I'd put them together, though, because with ganking...
Do you think one is better, kills or a gank? Which one do you put first?
Say so. I think gank is more effective as a, as a macro decision. Like, say I have the choice between getting a kill on the enemy jungle at his blue buff or gank my bot lane.
Oh, so let's change that. Instead of a kills, let's say invade. So invade versus gank. Because that's really the decision.
I don't know though, because maybe it's a skirmish between my two mid laners in the enemy jungle in the river.
Let's make counter ganking the same as like joining a skirmish.
Okay. You know what? That works. Yeah.
And then, as far as this goes, let's have this represent invading.
Okay.
Does that seem reasonable? Like that?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think I would still choose ganking over invading.
Ganking over invading. So you think it goes up?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. So why is that?
With a gank, one, you're risking less. Depending on the enemy position on the map, in their lanes, I go invade. I had 3 people roaming on me.
So let's actually say, let's simplify this. Again, let's not worry about like what the like percentages are of it working. Let's just say like this is it working in the best case.
Right.
So a successful invade versus a successful gank. Which one are you taking?
Taking the gank.
Okay, why?
Tower damage.
Boom. That easy.
Yeah, no brainer.
That simple. Invade, still good, still get kill gold, don't get tower damage. Not as good.
So my job as a jungler is to make decisions that would directly lead to taking a tower.
Your job as a League of Legends player is to make decisions that cause you to take towers. Better. Okay, buddy? Not jungler. League of Legends player. Period.
Yes.
This is like, okay, so like, you know how there's been this fucking meme for like 8 years of like just fucking hit the tower forehead? Like, this is what we mean when we say that, okay? Like, literally just hit the tower forehead. Like every single decision in the entire game that you make should be able to be traced to taking a tower. If it is not, then you have some serious reconsidering of like your strategy to do.
Okay. Yeah.
Right? Because that is a hard rule. That is a game rule. That is not a meta rule.
So it's possible, I'm not saying it's 100%, but it's possible that taking Raptors when Baron is up is not the correct move.
That is potentially correct, depending on the situation, yes.
I'm just saying, Baron is 1 CS, and Raptors is 4.
True. Is Baron actually 1 CS?
I don't know. Dragon definitely is.
Really? I never noticed.
Yeah, so I would believe it.
Anyway.
I'm the better jungler. You don't
True. I would have suspected 4, but I guess I'm wrong.
I don't know, maybe
but yeah,
I'm wrong.
I don't know. Doesn't really matter. It's just a number. Anyway.
It matters enough for me to Google it.
So yeah, so this is different from kind of how you were thinking about this hierarchy when we started talking, right? If you had to try to summarize back to me the ways in which this is different, how would you describe the differences that we've made to this hierarchy? The changes.
Ask that question one more time.
So we've just gone through and we've kind of shuffled this hierarchy around a bit.
Yes.
How would you summarize the changes that we've made? If you had to do it in like 2 sentences. What do you think are the biggest differences between where it was and where it is now?
I think where it was, my thinking was too small scale.
What do you mean by that?
I had these ideas, but they weren't thinking about the bigger picture of the game. You know, it
So
was kind of just
how
like,
is
I
this
should
now
counter
thinking
game
about the better picture? How is this now thinking about the bigger picture? What have we done to
because
change
now every decision here is like everything, like the positioning of the hierarchy, the things on the hierarchy, because we added some stuff and removed some stuff. It all now directly correlates to getting a fucking nexus,
Yeah.
bonking the nexus.
Mm-hmm.
And that was sort of true for the old
Yeah.
hierarchy, but it was
When
smaller
we
scale.
look at the old
I
hierarchy,
should counter gank because counter ganking is probably more effective for getting my laner ahead, but it wasn't.
yeah, and it's like the connection had not been drawn between getting your laner ahead and taking towers and killing the nexus, right?
Yes.
So I think this is actually like one of the most important models that you can take out of this into literally anything that you do in League of Legends, not just jungling, right?
Okay.
Like literally everything in League of Legends should be about taking towers. And the only reason that you do anything, and Raptors, the only thing that you do other, the only things that you should do should be able to be traced to this. And that doesn't mean that they should like directly contribute. Like obviously like vision control is important, right? Like I'm not telling you that it isn't, right?
Yeah.
But vision control is important because it allows you to take objectives that make you stronger than your opponents so that you can counter gank them so that you can take towers and win the game.
Yes.
Right? And if you can't do that, what I just did, right, to like tracing it down the line to like how does it help me take towers and win the game, right?
Then it's not important.
Then it's literally not important, right?
Yes.
And when you're comparing different decisions that you can make, you should always try to follow through. Like, can I, you know, how do these connect, right? And like, what are the actual rewards of these decisions?
Yeah. So like if I put a ward on the enemy red buff but don't make use of that vision, then it was a waste of time. That was it.
Brilliant. Vision has no inherent value.
It only has the value that I give it.
Yes, precisely. And that was something that something you knew before or something you just learned?
I guess I sort of knew it before, but
yeah,
I think
it's more clear
jungling,
now.
it's a lot. I think with jungling, it's a lot more important.
Yeah, why is that? Good observation. Why is that?
Well, with say with laning, we're just going to assume that there's just a ward on the enemy red, and we're gonna play out the scenario for both
what
of
is
these.
So if we think about the vision that the ward gives you at the enemy red, right, as a critical factor, what skills are we actually doing now? Like what skills are we actually applying that? How does that change our decision making?
For mid lane, here's how it changes how I play.
Yeah,
I'm playing now to my bot side of the lane.
Okay.
So that I can easily get away from a gank. It means that I'm probably going to have a ward somewhere. I don't know, probably right here, so I know when the gank is coming exactly. It means that I'm going to probably play safer and not go in for a stupid trade, and that's probably about it. For a jungler, seeing the enemy jungle on his top side red buff means I go bot, I get a kill, I get 2 kills, I get a double kill because I'm that good.
Poggers.
I go to his bot side jungle, I take all that. That's mine. I go to dragon, that's mine.
So to summarize,
I have greater control of the map as a jungler.
Yes.
So vision is more important.
Yes, vision is more important because you can leverage it harder.
Yes.
Because it is more useful as a jungler.
Yes, exactly.
In the literal sense, it has more uses.
Yes. Yeah.
So, yes, precisely so. You can do more with the information that Vision provides as a jungler because you have the freedom to kind of go anywhere and do anything, right? As a
Yeah.
laner, you're modifying your laning a little bit, and essentially what you're doing is you're reaping the negative reward of I'm preventing the enemy from killing me and taking my tower, right?
Yes.
And that's like good, but then you think about that compared to the positive reward of I get 2 kills and a quarter of the jungle and a Drake. You know what I mean? Like, it's just not comparable, right? Like, the resources traded are just like not in the same sphere of like existence. Like,
Yeah.
it's just way bigger. So yeah. So vision is important, but vision is only as important as what the uses of that vision are. A ward in the river is different than a ward on their red. A ward on their red that doesn't see him is different than a ward on the red that does see him, right? And so do with that what you will. It seems like you now have the tools to sort of figure it out for yourself, right?
Yes.
So at this point, do you feel like you kind of understand like the decision making of like here are like various different things that you can be doing as a jungler, and like how do you decide what to do?
Yeah, I think I understand it much.
Excellent.
I mean, before it was kind of just like, okay, I'm a super fucking bad jungle. So it was kind of just like, I'm okay. I'm gonna go to my Raptors. I'm gonna
because they're the most important. They're at the top of the hierarchy. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. See right there.
Got him. Yep.
So I would go. I'd take my Raptors.
Sure.
I'd probably go and take the enemy Raptors.
Okay.
And then
double kill.
that's when I would
beautiful
back to my red buff.
Okay.
And then I would go to my blue buff.
Okay.
And I'd be like, oh, okay, top is pushed in, or
beautiful.
Better yet, bot is pushed in. I'll make my way there for a game.
All the way down, baby. Let's go.
That is the extent of my jungling.
Excellent. Now, that's what I like to hear.
Consistently miss every dragon.
Okay, good. Yeah, objectives aren't on the list anymore. We don't need to use them. They're just useless. They don't do anything. Yep. So, yeah. Now that you have a better understanding of the relative value of the various different plays that you can make, now it comes down to your understanding of what plays you actually can make, right?
Yes.
And that's a much more complicated and interesting problem, and I'll argue that is like what the game of jungle is.
Yes.
Right? Like that is what makes jungling interesting and fun, and like, something that takes 10 years to learn how to do, right?
Yeah.
Is that knowing what all of these different things, you have all of these different options, and you need to actually be able to know like which of them can I do and which of them can't I, right? In any given situation with any different itemization and vision pattern, what it's like there's shitloads of options, right?
Yeah.
But now, don't even worry about that, right? Like your body will eventually learn that, right? Eventually you'll just look at the map and you'll be like, oh, like I could counter gank. That's amazing. And then you just go counter gank and you just win the game, okay? Like it's that easy, right? So and like when you look at like the like highest like rated junglers in the game, right? Like they're not thinking about like, they have all of this like, value stuff internalized, right? And you just eventually forget it, right? Because this is in a lot of ways this is actually fundamental, right? It's fundamental because it has to do with like the actual like values, the like rules of the game that determine like what happens when you do different things, right? Like the amount of gold that a kill gives, the amount of stats that a Drake buff gives, the amount of like towers in the game, or like how much HP they have. It's like that kind of stuff, right? And it's like those rules don't generally change outside of preseason. Maybe mid-season sometimes, right? So like you can generally like, at the times when they do change, you kind of like reformulate your hierarchy here and say like, have any of these changed? Have any of them gotten better or worse, right? And then once you kind of do that reevaluation, then you can kind of cement it in stone again and like learn it to unconscious competence, and then just kind of rely on it, and it's just there, right?
Right.
But yeah. So now that we've gotten that straightened out, right? Like, what is the value of different plays? So let's talk about like 1v1 matchups. Yeah.
Okay.
So what's that about? What's going on there?
Well, you know, there are just some junglers that are better at different levels.
Okay.
You know,
Level 18
so
junglers. Interesting.
yeah, that's just fiddlesticks.
Understandable. It's a pretty late power spike. Hope the game
yeah,
hasn't ended by
it
then.
works out though. The fiddlestick
True.
scaling is
True.
I'm talking current fiddlesticks. I
Sure.
don't know about new fiddlesticks, but you know, so Twitch is good because at level 2 he's just gonna go to your fucking mid, and Jarvan is good because he gets his what is it, EQ, QE.
EQ.
Lee
Flag
Sin
and
is
then
good
drag.
because what's that?
Flag and then drag.
Yeah. Is this flag the E?
Yes.
Oh. Wow, interesting. For Lee Sin, he has essentially 4 abilities now, and he has empowered auto attacks, so he's pretty good level. Consistently can win a 1v1. Then a level 6 jungler is a jungler that these are level 2 junglers are the junglers that can get a level 2.
Okay.
They have strong level 2 game. Xin Zhao has his dash, and then I think he gets his knock up next. Or he gets his knock up first, and then he gets his dash. So he's just gonna go to your mid, dash on him, knock him up. You have a dead mid laner.
As just a purely informational thing, I actually disagree with Lee being a level 2 jungler.
You
actually
actually
think he's level 3. I think Lee Sin is actually a level 3 jungler. I don't think he's a level 2 jungler. His even though he does get like a dueling spike, I don't think his ganking actually gets strong until he has all 3 abilities. Because at that point he can W onto a ward into range of somebody, E them, then they flash away, then he follows them with Q and kills them.
Okay, fair enough.
Where if you're just level 2, you just have to fucking hit the Q. And even if you do, it's a level 1 Q. Like, what's it gonna fucking do? Like 50 damage?
Yeah.
And then you like Q to them and they're like full health, and then you do another 50 damage, and then they like, I don't know, like are a Cassidon, and they auto attack you down and you die, and you're like, hello. Like he does something level 2. His level 2 isn't the worst, but it's not actually that amazing. It's not nearly on the level of Camille, Xin Zhao, Jarvan. Nowhere close. Twitch. Nowhere close. Any of those is going to do a much better job than Lee is.
For level 6, those are the champions that before level 6 they're kind of barely a champion.
True. Strongly
Master Yi is gonna have some really fucking hard ganks pre-6. Nocturne, same thing. Shyvana, same thing. Rengar, same.
Yeah. So what does make these champions strong pre-6? How are they able to do anything?
They can maybe. I mean, they're.
Have you ever seen a level? Have you ever seen a Yi get a kill at level 2?
At level 2, I don't know how to.
Have you ever experienced the horror?
I'm playing in Bronze Elo right now.
Have you ever experienced the horror of a Master Yi with Ignite going red your wolves on red side or on blue side? Right.
Sorry.
He goes so he goes red, his red,
Yeah.
bottom quadrant red, to your wolves, right quadrant wolves. Okay, that's his path.
Yes.
And he takes Ignite. Okay, so you do blue wolves, and then as you're like halfway through wolves, fucking Master Yi comes flying through the air off of the fucking blast cone, and he starts whacking your ass, and you're like, Jesus Christ, who is this motherfucker? And then he fucking ignites you, and you flash away, and you're like, oh shit, and then he Qs you. Okay, and now you're getting auto attacked by a Master Yi with no flash next to your tower, and you die, and you're like, excuse me, Yi is a level 6 jungler. This is unfair. I'm quitting.
Yeah.
Okay. So the point that I'm trying to make here is this is a heuristic. This is a rule of thumb that you can use to give you some kind of an idea of how strong the ganks of different junglers are going to be at different levels. Any jungler can gank at level 2. They just get level 2 and they walk into the lane, and then they gank.
Yeah.
The strength of that level 2 gank is determined by their kit, right?
Yes.
So don't think of it as they can gank at level 2 or they can't. Think of it as their level 2 gank is this strong. Okay?
Okay. Yeah.
Because that'll give you a much more accurate picture, and you won't get upset by people breaking the rules. Because these aren't rules. This is just a rule of thumb.
Understood.
A Yi can gank level 2, it's just that he generally has trouble sticking to people. If it's a fucking, like, Leona Jhin lane, and the enemy walks forward, a Master Yi can gank at level 2. It's perfectly fine. He will get the kill. 100% of the time he'll get the kill, you know what I'm saying? He just needs a lot of help, right? Where, meanwhile, there's definitely lane states that exist where a Camille cannot get a gank at level 2. It's like fucking Fizz versus Vladimir, and Vladimir takes pool, and he's like, okay, and then he pulls, and then he leaves, and you're just like, okay, like, I'm Camille, doesn't matter. Mid lane, by the way! Fucking stupid champions. Fucking hate them. Anyway, like, so, you know, rather than, you know, and that said, like, you know, I do think this is useful, right? Like, you know, keeping track of, like, which champions have, like, generally, like, stronger ganking patterns at level 2, and, like, what is the level at which their ganking pattern spikes, you know what I mean? Like, that's really what this is saying, is it's right. Not when they can gank, it's when their ganks become tremendously strong, right? It's at what point their kit becomes well-suited to ganking, right? Twitch at level 2, Camille at level 2, Zinja level 2, Jarvan level 2, Lee Sin level 3, Zac level 5. Level 5. What do you mean level 5? Level 5 is the moment that his E gets rank 3, which is actually the moment that he has, like, long enough range that he can actually engage on somebody from a bush.
Does that increase the range?
Yes.
I did not know that.
Zac's slingshot gains range as it gains levels. He cannot go very far level with 1 rank in it. He can go extremely far with 5 ranks.
I was thinking of the wrong ability. Okay. Yeah, I did know that. I didn't know that level 5 was the spike there, though.
Yeah, level 5 is the spike. Rank 3 is kind of the rank where he can usually, like, get in range enough that he can land it from a bush, you know? Like, somebody kind of baits it a little bit towards one side of the lane, he can land it, right? Whereas if it's rank 1 or rank 2, he generally has to walk out of the bush before he starts charging it, in which case they know it's coming and they can generally dodge it, right? So level 5 is actually the spike for Zac. That's when he can gank. That's when he can start ganking successfully, which is so fucking weird. No other jungler is a level 5 jungler, okay?
Yeah.
But that's really what that means. Is it's like, what is the level at which their ganks become potent, right? What is the level at which you have to be, like, scared of them as a laner, right? And by scared of them, I mean, like, you go from playing, like, if they come at you, like, if you take an all in, like, they can always gank that. But, like, you go in for a trade, and you die for it. Because you didn't know they were there, right? Like, that's what it really means for, like, they're like, potent gankers, right? Is, like, you need to actually be careful, right?
Yes.
If you, you know, take a bad trade at level 2, Twitch will kill you. He will straight up run your ass down the lane, and you will die. Like, he, you know, and that's what it means for him to be a level 2 jungler, is that he has the capability of doing that at level 2, right? Master Yi has the capability of doing it at level 3. Nocturne has the capability of doing it at level... Or Master Yi can do it at level 6. Nocturne can do it at level 6. Shyvana can do it at level 6. Rengar can do it at level 6. Plenty of other junglers happen somewhere between, you know, 3 and up, you know. Like, you could almost argue that, like, a Kha'Zix is actually like a level 4 jungler. Because even though he technically gets all 3 of his abilities by level 3, he doesn't actually do damage until he gets 2nd rank Q.
Right.
Elise, same thing. Level 4 jungler, really. You know what I mean? And it's like, you know, the like, this is stuff that, like, you don't need to... I almost want to say you don't even need to worry about this, actually. Like, you do need to worry about it, but, like, this is the wrong way to worry about it.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. You know what I mean? Like, you know, it's a rule of thumb, and, like, at which level do their ganks become potent, but, like, even deeper than that, how good are their ganks right now, right? At level 1, how good is a Twitch gank? At level 2, how good is a Twitch gank? At level 3, how good is a Twitch gank? You know? What is the difference between a level 2 and a level 3 Twitch gank? What's the difference between a level 2 and a level 4 Twitch gank? Level 4 actually is worse as a Twitch gank because his red buff is run out.
Ooh. Okay.
So the thing that you really need to understand here is that champions have power curves. Okay?
Yes.
And understanding the power curves of the various different junglers and how that power curve affects their options. The decisions that they can make. What we just talked about. Their power curve determines what options are possible and not possible. Right? And that's really what you need to know. Right? Is you need to be able to look at mid lane and be like, Twitch can be level 2 by now, and a level 2 Twitch can gank that lane. I need to ping him back.
Yeah.
Right? Like, that is what you need to be able to do, not identify that Twitch is a level 2 jungler. You get me?
Yeah.
Okay. So, the key thing here is just, like, understand the power curves of different junglers, understand what they're capable of at various different, like, times that their power changes, right? Which is both level changes, which is what this focused on, but also itemization changes, right? A Tiamat level 6 Rengar is very different than a Tiamat Duskblade level 6 Rengar. You know what I'm saying? Like, one of those is a lot scarier than the other.
Yeah.
So, like, that's another thing to be considering too, right? A level 4 Yi is not very scary. A level 4 Yi with a completed jungle item because he got 3 kills is pretty fucking terrifying, actually, okay?
Yeah.
So, like, you know what I mean? Like, again, it all comes down to power curves, right? And what determines champion's power? It's their itemization and it's their level. That's it. And their kit, I guess. The fact that they are who they are, right? So as long as you're constantly pressing tab and thinking about, like, okay, what level am I expecting the enemy jungler to be? What items do I expect them to have, given how long it's been? And, whatever kills they've gotten, whatever CS they've gotten, right? What power level am I expecting them to have? What version of this champion am I expecting to show up when I next see them?
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Great. So, to give you a... Nah, I can't think of an easy way to test this. I'll just assume you know it. So I see a note. Junglers that get their spike first are better for invades fights 1v1s.
Yes.
So given what we just talked about and how we kind of identified that really this is just kind of talking about power curves and, like, how your power changes over time as you collect resources, right? How would you generalize that statement? How would you open that up and make it more complicated but more accurate?
Let me think.
Junglers that get their first spike are better for invades fights 1v1s. When you actually come to it, it's actually going to sound like super, like, 3-head. Like,
yeah.
Duh. Okay?
I don't know.
So... Let me rephrase this using the language that we've just kind of started using, right? So instead of saying junglers that get their spike first are better for invites fades 1v1s, I'm going to say junglers that are more powerful are better at winning fights.
That is pretty fucking 3-head.
Right? It's like, yeah, that makes sense, right? Like, so... Like, you can say junglers that spike first are, like, better for, like, these specific situations, but, like, really all that's saying is junglers that are more powerful are better at winning fights. And, like, that's kind of the definition of being more powerful, right? Like, so, like, yes. But, like, more than just, like, yes, it's, like, yes, and here's why, right? And there's, like, all of these critical factors, right? Like their itemization and their level breakpoint and their kit.
Right. Okay.
So you think about those things, and you think about them taking a fight with you, and you say, do I win that? And that's damage foresight. You get me?
Yes.
So that's what you should really be doing, is you should be there's, like, And you know, you can combine that with another skill, which is understanding like the general plays and pathing that people will do from like a you know, regular ass standpoint. Like, you know, what are the different paths that like somebody can take to get to level 3? What are the different paths that this jungler in specific can take to get level 3 with enough health to gank? Of those paths that they can take to get to level 3 and then take a gank, which one of them are they most likely to take? If they do take a gank, out of that most likely path that they're able to take that gets them to level 3 and with enough health that they can gank, is the gank actually going to work? Do I need to ping my laner? Bruh. Like, this is the question, right? Do I or don't I need to ping my laner back when they're taking an all-in and I see it on the minimap, right? And the critical factors there are the champion and the time, right? Time as a substitute for like, you know, maximum potential level of enemy jungler, and jungler just being, what does his kit do when he gets that many resources, when he hits that level. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes complete sense.
Okay. Simple, not easy, right?
Yeah,
it's like
right.
Looking at that, like 3-head, you look at the champion and figure out if they can kill you. Like, duh, okay. But not easy, because there's actually a lot of different champions and level combinations in this game. You know what I mean? And like, you know, and then you add the difficulty of like, it's like a unique lane position that you haven't seen and a unique matchup that you haven't seen, and it's like the combination of that jungler at level 3 with that laner at level 3 and there's angle, a lot of factors. Right? So there's like actually a ton of factors, right? So there's a ton of factors, and there's a ton of different like values that those factors can take, right? Like the range of possible like things within each of those factors is actually quite high, and that's what makes it difficult. Is that there's just, you need a lot of experience to be able to estimate with any kind of accuracy the outcome of like a various different, like I can say like a level 3 Lee Sin ganks a Malzahar that's standing on the opposite side of the lane next to his like, you know, like thing right there, right? And he's like 80% HP with a Doran's Ring and 1 potion left, and the enemy mid laner is Zoe, and she has no bubble, but she has her Q up and she has Ignite and he has Teleport. Does Lee win the gank? You know what I mean? And it's like, you know, like that's like a staggering actually number of factors to consider, right? And then you know, does Malz die? Like that's the question that you need to ask, right? And it's like, and the answer of course is actually also, and it depends, because it depends on how he plays it, right? Like if he W's right in front of the Malzahar Q to like get him to waste his Q on a freaking Voidling, then he's like an actual like 5-head player, and he like he literally can't be ganked ever, right? Like that's actually insane, right? But like, does the timing work out? Can he actually do that or not, right? I don't know. I don't play Malzahar enough.
I don't think I've ever played Malzahar. No desire to.
You know what I mean? And it's like so many of the things that you're going to find are going to be, the answers are going to be something like that. It's like, okay, like in theory, like Zyra can spawn a plant and sort of release in Q. In actuality, does the cast time allow that? Can you actually react fast enough? Is it possible? I don't know. And as you gain experience playing jungle, you will start to explore those different possibilities. And that will be what gives you the damage and movement foresight to then make the soul reads, use these very simple models to make very complicated decisions, and then actually like outplay the enemy and like win the game.
All right. I understand that.
Cool. Yeah. So, yeah, and I see that you made a note, like, understanding pathing and general plays of different junglers. That's, like, another thing that we can talk about. Probably don't have enough time to go into it today, right? But, like, we can talk about, like, you know, what are the various different and this is something you can explore on your own, too, because it's really important, right? Is, like, what are the different paths that you can take that get you level 2, level 3, level 4, and, you know, so and that's just like what camps give enough what sequences of camps give enough experience to actually hit the level, right? But then on top of that, what HP values are different champions after they've taken those different paths, right? Because that's what makes it, you know, it's like a semi-soft but actually quite hard thing about the game is like the idea that, like, you know, somebody can't just decide that Gragas comes out of the jungle with enough HP to gank after doing a certain path. Like, it's down to the stats. You know what I mean? Like, there's there's as well as you can play it, and they can't do any better than that, right? So, like, if you know that a Gragas that plays perfectly comes out with, like, 1/3 health doing a certain path, right? Then you know that a 1/3 health Gragas doesn't make the gank happen, you don't need to know whether he plays it perfectly or not, because the only way that it can go is worse, right? It's 1/3 health or lower, right?
Right.
And so
Yeah.
you don't actually need to know what he does. You just need to know what the best thing he could possibly do would be. And then you can say this path is impossible. He can't take it, right? So, if we think that he's doing that path, then we don't need to worry, because it doesn't matter what he does. He's going to be too low to gank after, right? That sort of thing.
Yeah.
So this is like, in kind of a similar way to, like, in mid lane and top lane, like, you have matchups where you need to think about, like, what are the different, like, trading patterns in the matchup, right?
Yes.
In the jungle, you think, what are the different clears that he can do? Because those are it's the same kind of thing. It's like, what are the different threats that he can present? Where are the different places that he can be and be dangerous? Right?
Yeah.
So those are similar in the same kind of way, right? It's like, how important is it that you know the trading patterns for each matchup? An amount. How important is it that you know the different clears that every jungler can do? That same amount.
Yeah. Yeah.
So there's that as well. So
Sorry, I'm not putting as much input in, but I swear I'm listening.
Yeah. No, I'm just kind of monologuing right now. That's okay. I understand. So, rubber banding. What's that about? Explain it to me.
To be honest, it's not a topic that I know very well. These are just the notes that I put down when Elodare told me about it, and so I don't.
Yeah,
I'm
you
not
never really
100%
grokked it.
sure.
Okay. So here's the basic idea. This is what you really need to understand. When camps spawn, they are locked at a certain amount of golden experience that they'll give. Okay?
Yes.
And that is determined by their level. And their level is decided by, like, the average amount of experience of, like, everybody in the game, or something to that effect. I don't remember what it actually is anymore, right? But, like, it doesn't actually matter. It's just camps have a level, okay? So, the level determines the amount of golden experience they'll give. When you kill them, you give them an opportunity to respawn at a higher level, which will cause them to be more powerful. They'll actually have more stats. They'll be more difficult to kill, and they'll grant more gold and more experience. Okay? So, that said, there's an interesting weird mechanic that Riot implemented called rubber banding. And that is that if you yourself, as the jungler, are a lower level than the camp's level, then when you clear it, you gain bonus experience. And this is intended to help you catch up, because you're going off and you're ganking. You're not clearing your camps. They want you to gank. So they want to soften the penalty of ganking by making it so that even though you're, like, getting less overall golden experience because you haven't cleared your camps as much, right? And maybe you haven't cleared your camps at all, right? And so it's not even that you're gaining less golden experience because you didn't clear your camp and make it respawn so it gave you more, but you just didn't clear it, so you didn't clear it at all. Like, you didn't get the golden experience the first time. It was sitting there not doing any golden experience generation for you that whole time, right? We talked earlier about the idea of, like, when it's up and not being cleared, it's bleeding golden experience, right? Like, you were bleeding that whole time, right? So because they can assume that you were bleeding that whole time and not collecting golden experience from that camp anyway, they give you a little extra experience to help you kind of catch up. So even if your gank didn't quite work, it's okay. You have rubber band XP. You come back into your jungle, you clear a camp, and you get a little more experience than you would have otherwise. and that helps you catch up to remain relevant through the rest of the game. So you can clear only a couple of camps and still kind of be okay experientially. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so it's kind of like a band-aid, like
Yes.
pretty much.
Yes, and that's why they called it a rubber band, right? You can't get too far behind. There's a rubber band that's actually like stretching and pulling you back to like the even point.
Right. Okay.
That's the mental image to have. So when he says, camp start at level 1, when killed at respawn, they will read the average level of the game and be that level, right? So, that's kind of what they're saying. So like if you clear, and all camps start at level 2, so you always get the bonus experience for the first camp you clear, right? So keep that in mind if you're trying to like do the like XP routing and stuff. Don't do the math by clearing each camp and then deciding that's how much experience they give, right? Like that's not it, right? Like it's gonna be different. So actually do the clear. That's the only way to know what the clear will actually do.
Yeah.
Without knowing the math behind it. So, but yeah, you kill a camp, you go gank. You don't get experience during the gank. I mean, but you do because you're like next to some dying minions because you're in a lane, right? And then you come back to the camp with the lower level in the camp, right? Then the camp will give you more experience, right? Because now you're lower level than the camp, so the camp says you need rubber band XP, so it gives you that to help you get back into the game.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're power farming your camps, you don't get rubber band XP. But if you clear it and then if you clear it and then you don't actually gain any XP, and then you come back and you clear it again, then you'll get more XP, right? If you clear it and then you go gank successfully and get a whole bunch of experience and gold from the kill, and then you come back, you're still the same level as the camp is because it respawned at the average level of the game, right? And then you don't get any bonus XP, right? So what matters is like, are you behind relative to everybody else in the game in terms of XP? If you are, camps will give you more experience. That's the mechanic you need to be aware of.
Right.
And ganking versus farming. Farming the same camps over and over gives you more XP. Ganking over and over gives you rubber banding XP. Farming the same camp over and over is better than farming a bunch of different camps because when it respawns at the higher level, it gives you more base golden experience. Not the rubber band, but just the base amount of golden experience from it being a higher level, right? So if you, like, 3-camp bottom into a gank, right? Or 3-camp red side into a gank, okay? And then your camps respawn on bottom side, and you want to gank mid, right? If you clear your top side, your camps are still going to be level 2 because you haven't cleared them yet. But if you clear your bot side again, they're going to give you more XP and gold because they've been cleared, so they're going to be a higher level. They'll be more difficult to kill, and they'll take longer to kill, but they'll give you more resources. Does that kind of make sense?
Yeah, I think so.
So what did I just say? Summarize it back to me.
So, say I do red.
Yeah.
And then Krugs.
Yeah.
And then Raptor.
Yeah.
I go to gank mid.
Yeah.
After I gank mid, say I clear this.
Okay.
Or recall.
You recall. That's if you don't recall, then you don't get this weird effect, right?
Mm-mm.
So if you 3-camp into mid, right? You red Krugs Raptors into mid, and then you recall. And for whatever reason, that's enough time for your camps to have respawned. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Just believe it, okay?
Okay.
It's not actually true, but believe it, okay? Let's say your camps respawn, right? What level are your camps in bottom side?
Let's see. By that point, they're probably, I don't know, level 3.
Sure. They're the average level of whatever the game was at the time that they spawned, right?
Yes.
What level are the camps in topside?
They're still level 1 or level 2, rather.
Level 2, because all camps spawn at level 2. They're still level 2. So, because of that, how are they different? Like, what is it? What does them being level 3 mean?
Gold XP.
Yeah.
But they're also easier to kill.
Yes. So they're going to be the topside camps are going to be less experience in gold, but faster, easier to kill. The camps in bottom side are going to be healthier, more powerful, but give more golden experience for clearing them.
Right.
And on top of that, If you are level 2, it's impossible because you let's say that the bottom side camps respawn at level 4, okay? Let's say that
Okay.
happened, okay? So let's say the
Okay.
bot side camps are level 4 and you are currently level 3 and top side camps are level 2, okay?
Yes.
Is there any way that you can collect rubber band experience?
Uh, if I'm level 3 and the bot jungle is level 4, then yeah, I could go.
Yes. You can go back into the bottom jungle and you will collect rubber band experience for killing those camps because they are level 4 and you are level 3. If you go in and
Yeah.
clear the top camps before clearing the bottom camps, you will hit level 4 by clearing the top camps, and then you will be level 4 when you clear the level 4 camps, and you will not get rubber band XP. You will actually literally clear the same camps and get more experience for doing it in the opposite order.
Huh. Okay.
That's why it's important. Okay?
So they're kind of I don't know, safeguard for
Yeah.
over ganking and
Yeah.
being under leveled
Yeah.
can actually be abused to
Yes.
get
And they
a
try
higher
to
level.
not make it abusable. They try to make it like so that it really just helps you
Balance.
if you're actually behind and like having a bad time, right? And not just
Yeah,
like something that you can play around to like
but a
be
small
more
indie
have
developer.
more
So
power on the map, right? So like that's not an intended effect, right? Like they're going to try to make it as, unabusable as possible. But just,
yes,
be kind of aware of the mechanics so that you can kind of know, that's a thing, right?
yes.
And have it factor into your decisions, right? Is that ever going to be more important than pathing towards the next gank? No. No, it won't. But as you get higher and higher on the ladder and games stay close for longer, right? If you ever get into like Grandmaster or something like that, then rubber band XP is going to be something that matters, right? Because then, maybe laners at that point are good enough that they can set up ganks no matter what path you take. And they actually look at what you're pathing and they set up ganks for you, right? It's not you decide where you're going to go and based on what they're doing. They manipulate what they're doing based on where you're going to go. How crazy is that, huh?
Yeah,
All
nuts.
right. So, at that point, right? Yeah, you can choose to take the more rubber bandy route and like be a higher level when you arrive so your gank is stronger and then it's easier to take the gank in the one lane than the other, right? Because you're stronger. But truly for you for right now, I genuinely don't think it's something you need to worry about at all. Rubber banding.
So it's a little bit advanced
Yeah. Yeah.
for the young
Yeah.
fiddlesticks, man.
For you, I want you to focus when you're thinking about pathing and what sequence do I clear my camps. I definitely want you to be thinking much more about that, your decision hierarchy.
Yeah, the decision hierarchy.
Think about what can you get for each of these different paths. Like what is the play that you make after doing the clear, and what are the relative values of those different plays.
Yes.
And pick the play with the highest value that you think you can actually get.
Right.
That's what I want you to do. Don't worry about rubber
So
bands.
Raptors first. Cool.
Yeah. So that said, let's talk about pathing.
You okay?
In order to have the most opportunities when recalling, we
Hold on.
ideally
Wait.
want options on either side.
Can I take a quick 5-minute break?
Absolutely not. I will also take one.
Okay.
See ya.
Oh,
Welcome back, sir.
I had to make a sandwich.
So, shall we talk next about the pathings?
Yes, I suck at pathing.
So, in order to have the most opportunities when recalling, we ideally want options on either side. 2 ways to create options. Play off your first non-buff cooldown. You have to take Rafters. You have 2 minutes and 30 seconds to 2:30 to play the map. Be back to Rafters by 2:30. Leave a camp open after your first clear to go to either side and be fine. Okay. So, yes. But also, I think we can just be a lot simpler than this.
All right.
Yeah.
All right.
So, the thing that I want you to do, okay,
Okay.
is I want you to clear in a straight line from one side of the jungle to another. All right?
Okay.
There's no buffs up, and all your camps are up. You're either going to go to Gromp and you're going to clear down, or you're going to go to Krugs and you're going to clear up. All right? It's that easy.
Huh.
And that is because that is the most efficient way to clear your camps. It requires the least movement. So it's going to maximize your golden experience income. Okay? And let's be real, you're in bronze. Nobody is tracking the jungler. 0% of people in the population are tracking the jungler. Okay? This will not hurt your gank chances. What you need to do is, and this comes back to the problem of you were talking about at the very top, right? Where you strong side, weak side, and you look and it doesn't match what you think, right? Mm-hmm. So it will not start matching what you think until laners know how to play. What elo do you think that starts happening at? That's right. It's a trick question. It doesn't happen. Yeah. Thank you very much. Thank you for coming. So, it's never going to happen, all right? Like, in pro play, yes, you can figure it out because people actually play the matchups like they're supposed to be played. As you get higher and higher, it will happen more of the time. I'm just going to let that sentence hang. It will happen more of the time, okay? But at the end of the day, as a solo queue jungler, you need to keep your eyes open, okay?
Yeah.
So this thing at the bottom that that you typed in all caps, remember to use F keys. Important, important, important. This is why, okay? I want you to make that 800 font, okay? It is unbelievably important, okay? Like that is 72, my friend. Yeah, none of them are.
Bold.
Bold italic, my friend.
Let's see, what's the most powerful font?
Probably Arial. Probably Arial. Webdings? Understandable. Yeah.
Oh,
I am telling you, dude, it is like Capitol Hill checkmark question mark itemization sign. Like it is so huge, okay?
Yeah.
And I'm going to say something else too. You don't have to use F keys, okay? F keys are an advanced technique for junglers that really want to push their game to the next level that allow them to both look at the map and clear their camps and micro their camps at the same time.
Right.
Okay? If you are not currently clearing a camp, there is no reason that you have to use F keys. And in fact, you'll see a lot of world-class junglers that just click on their minimaps, okay? So
yeah.
The important thing is not what input method you use to look at your lanes. The important thing is that you fucking look at your lanes, okay? You have to look at your lanes, all right? You have to look at your lanes. If you do not look at your lanes, you are going to miss opportunities. And that is even worse than leaving camps up, okay?
Yes.
Remember how unbelievably amazing counter ganks are? You will see 0 counter ganks if you don't look at your lanes. It will not happen. Okay?
Yeah.
You must. You must look at your lanes.
I can't put this in 72.
Yeah, it's because Notepad is a garbage program. Use Word or something. Yeah, I like this. I like this. And use F keys with look at your lanes.
Thanks for telling me that after I...
Yeah, I got you, dude. It's that easy. So, look at your lanes.
Well, that's good because I fucking suck at using F keys.
You don't need to use F keys.
I just moved the fucking map around on my mini map.
Yeah. You can, and like I say, there is advantage to using F keys, right? F keys allows you to not change your cursor position while you're actually looking at your lanes, which then allows you to A, look at all of your lanes while kiting, and B, look at all of your lanes really quickly, right? It's a lot harder to click on top, click on mid, click on bottom than it is to just F key 1, 2, 3, 4, right? So, if you just F key 1, 2, 3, and then just do that really quickly, that can be a thing that is useful because you can kind of generally grasp the state of the lane, people's HP bars, wave sizes, that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah.
But you can do it just as easily by clicking on the minimap. It's just going to take you a little bit longer. And you'll miss out on like 2 seconds of micro, and that's fine. You're in bronze. It is not going to make or break the fight. You knowing that there are people who are fighting in mid lane and going to it is going to make or break the fight. Okay? You have to look.
Man.
You have to look.
I'm in gold. I'm just in bronze right now.
Oh, okay. I thought you were in gold. I said that, but you implied otherwise, and I assumed. Anyway.
No. It's just the ranking. Right.
Sure.
Put me.
It doesn't matter, dude. Like they're all
actually
the same.
No.
It's
put
fine.
me in silver, which isn't that.
It's
bad.
not actually. They're not actually all the same. But like
Yeah.
you're not in Challenger. I'll say it that way. You're not in Challenger. You don't have to
Says
FK.
you.
Okay. So you do have to look at your lanes. If you don't look at your lanes, you will miss out on critical opportunities to gank and counter gank. And those are, as we identified above, the highest value plays that you can make as a jungler. They result in kills plus tower damage, which is insane. Way stronger than anything else you can be doing.
Yeah.
So identifying the opportunities to do those things is like paramount. Like that is it, my dude. So that's what you got to do. You dig?
A dig.
So here's how you're gonna path, okay? You're gonna go to either your Krugs or your Gromp based on which lane you think is gonna be more easier to gank, okay? And you go opposite the lane that's gonna be easy to gank. And then while you are clearing, okay, if you're in top jungle, I want you looking at top and mid. If you're in bottom jungle, I want you looking at mid and bottom.
Okay. That makes
And
sense.
any time that you are not actively microing your character, which means any time that you don't have any cooldowns, you're not kiting, you're walking between camps, any time that you're not doing that, I want you to be spending looking at top and mid, or mid and bottom. Okay? And what that will allow you to do is it will allow you to actually see opportunities for ganks and counter ganks. And now that we've talked about why those are so OP, you have some sense of like why that is so good, right? And it is literally that simple. Okay?
Well, shit. All right. Good. Yeah, I can do.
And if you see something, then go there. Stop your camp and go there, okay? Like,
Yeah.
you don't have to finish your clear all the way from Krugs to Gromp or Gromp to Krugs.
God, I wish my junglers understood that.
You
Fuck me.
just go, right? And now there's a skill to looking at that and being like, oh, that seems important. I should go. And then you go and you like get there like 3 seconds too late and you've done nothing and now you've bled camps, okay? And that's really bad,
Yeah.
right? So, but you will not learn what fights you can and cannot show up to unless you try. That won't happen, right?
Yeah.
So, try. If you aren't sure if you can make it or not, go. That easy.
Right.
Congratulations, you are now a gold level jungler.
Nice.
That's simple.
Good. I'm gonna.
Okay. Minimize, don't close, but minimize your notes.
Minimize.
Minimize. Just like that. Repeat back to me. What did we talk about this day?
Oh fuck.
Hard mode. Pop quiz, motherfucker.
All right. So we talked about strong side, weak side.
Okay. What's that mean?
Strong side, weak side is what lane is pushing into what lane, and how I should be looking at that in the moment. I should be predicting that using the waves to see what it's going to be in 30 seconds.
Yes. And how do you practice
Which
that?
I see now I do because, my bot lane is pushed up right now, but it's just crashed into the turret, so soon it's going soon it's going to be
So
a
how do
third
you
turret, so now
practice? How do you practice predicting where it'll be in 30 seconds?
just watch a streamer. And,
Yes, like we talked about.
Yeah. Watch his lane, do whatever. And then we talked about. Hold on, I got this one. We talked about decision making.
Okay.
and we discussed how every decision should directly lead to it.
Yes.
We made a hierarchy
Yep.
that I'm just going to keep open like constantly,
Cool.
um,
Until you memorize it.
until I memorize it. Yeah, and then so the hierarchy was so taking a tower at the top, taking
Mm-hmm.
a nexus at
No,
the
you're wrong.
bottom.
Raptors at the top.
Right.
Zero
Oh yeah, you're
points.
right. You're right. You're right.
Uninstall the
Sorry.
game. You will never be
Sorry.
challenged.
Ah, jeez. Okay, hold on.
Jesus. Okay.
Delete.
Towers at the top. What
So
next?
Raptors at the top.
Yep.
So generally, my path is going to be Raptors,
Yep.
and then like red, blue, and by then my Raptors should be back up.
Yep.
And so I'm just keep
Yep.
doing that. Even if my red isn't up, I'm just gonna go Raptors to my empty red,
Yep.
and then
Yep.
yeah, okay.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
Um,
Yep.
we talked about the 1v1 matchups and how it's not set in stone.
Excuse me. Excuse me. We didn't go through the rest of the thing. We talked about Raptors and we talked about taking towers. What's next?
Okay, Raptors taking towers, and then counter gang,
Yes.
and then Rift or Dragon,
Okay.
I think, and then it was ganking,
Okay.
farming. There was one that was below farming. Shit, I forgot.
Okay. Open it back up and look at it again.
All right. Raptors take a tower, counter ganking, Rift, ganking, invade, and then farming. Farming was at the bottom. Okay. So ganking, invading, and then farming.
Mm-hmm.
We got.
And does that make sense? Do you still agree with it?
Yeah, I still agree with it.
Okay.
Trying to think back, and, like make 100% sure that I still agree with it. I think I still do.
Which ones gave you a little trouble?
Which what?
When you look back at it, you like hesitated for a second. You were like, I think I still agree with that. Which ones did not make immediate intuitive sense when you looked at them?
Most of them did. I just wanted to reflect, make 100% sure. There wasn't anything that like in particular that I was
okay. Just general information.
Questioning.
Sure.
It was it was just kind of like going through the list and being like, okay. Have I learned anything since that I would change? Sure. Learned about the 1v1 matchup. Now it's not set in stone. It's just these champions at these levels are capable of doing more. But it's not like a hard rule.
What is the hard rule?
The hard rule is that more powerful champion better for winning things.
Yeah.
And that we break tower, we bonk.
Yes, we do break tower, we do bonk. So it's the idea of power curves, right?
Yes, yeah.
The idea that champions' power changes over the course of the game, and that as you gain power, your capability changes, right?
Right.
And with great power comes great responsibility, right? What you should do changes based on what you can do.
Yes.
And so, identifying what your power level is and what the enemy's power level are two of the most important critical factors for deciding what should I do now, in a very general sense. So, what are the two most important critical factors to look at when trying to identify somebody's power level? Three, actually. What are the three most important factors?
His items.
Yep.
His level.
Yep.
And his health.
Wrong. his champion.
Wrong. His champion. That makes a lot more sense.
His champion. It's like a trick question. How do you figure out who's strong? You look at who they are, actually.
Yeah.
That's like kind of important, right? Like Silas with Infinity Edge RFC is a very different thing than a Caitlyn with Infinity Edge RFC. You dig
but
me?
you fuck off.
So you get what I'm saying, right? Like there's champion is important, kit is important, kit is really important, right? Health is a really good fourth thing, actually. Current health is really nice. But yes, items, levels, champion kit, health. Those are really good to look at to figure out how strong they are. What was next?
Then it was rubber banding.
Do you have your notes open on the second monitor?
I actually do not.
Okay.
Here is all I have on the second monitor. I have this, and then I have the window for
nice.
my
Okay, good.
folder.
I'm pleased. So it was rubber banding. And what did you learn about rubber banding?
I learned that it is beneficial for me to kill camps, do something else, and then wait until the camps are back up and then take those.
Because so killing the same camps over and over.
Yes.
Is generally better. And that's for two reasons, right? One of them is rubber banding, and one of them is actually what? There was kind of a second mechanic that we talked about there.
I don't know. I forgot.
So, if I'm a lower level than the camps and I kill them, then I get bonus experience.
Yes.
But if I cleared my bottom side and then I didn't clear my top side, and I'm a higher level than everything, which is better to clear?
Higher level than everything.
Yeah, I'm a higher level than all the camps.
Then I suppose it doesn't really matter, does it? I mean, whatever lane is in a proper space to gank.
Good. That's actually that's not what I was going for, but that's actually a better answer, right? So
yeah.
The thing that I actually left you with is it doesn't matter. Rubber banding is a higher level concept that doesn't apply to you because you're in gold and not challenger, and laners don't set up based on the path that you take. You have to adapt your path based on what your laners are doing. So
yeah.
The other thing is that the higher level the camp is, the more golden experience it gives. So clearing camps that you've already cleared, because they are a higher level, gives you more golden experience. Clearing camps that you are a lower level than is also good because that gives you rubber banding, right? So there's clear camps that are the highest level available to you. That's one rule. And then there's clear camps that are a higher level than you are first. And that's the rubber banding rule, right? But neither of those rules matter nearly as much as clear towards the lane that you're going to gank.
Yes.
So, in effect, it doesn't actually matter. You don't actually need to worry about it.
Hey man, worrying about the better jungler stuff is how I call it. I
True.
do have to worry about.
I mean, like getting that one extra CS instead of actually roaming to the fight and getting 2 extra kills. It's worth it a lot.
That's what I'm saying.
You know what I'm saying? It's just Raptors are so important. You just have to take them. So.
Also, they're fun to clear if you have AoE.
True. Strongly agree. I think my favorite camp is red, actually, but that's just because red and gank. Ooh, delicious. Anyway, what was the last thing we talked about?
The last thing we talked about was pathing, which was generally go from either Krugs up or Gromp down.
Yep, straight line.
Or the other way around if you're on the red side, but red side bad. So, Uh, and then if I'm in my top side, look at my top and my mid.
Yep.
If I'm bot side, look at my mid and my bot.
Yep.
And every time I have any downtime, if I'm going to the next camp, if I'm coming from base, any downtime, look at my.
Yes. And if you see something, do what?
If I see something, start working towards it.
Yes. Abandon
I
your
see
clear and go do something, because as we talked
Yes.
about in the hierarchy, farming is at the bottom. It is your
Yeah.
base case, and it's a very important base case, right? It is better than doing nothing. And there's a lot of things that you can do in League of Legends that are essentially doing nothing, right? So it is better than doing nothing. But it is worse than doing basically any other thing that you can be doing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, by default, clear all of your camps. But while you are clearing your camps, look with your eyes at everything else. Try, dear God, to find anything other than farming to be doing. Anything else, please, seriously, anything, right? Counter gank. Is there vision that I can set up for a play? Can I invade the enemy jungler and kill him? Anything. Is there anything else that I can do other than clear? But if there isn't, just clear in a straight line. It's that easy. All of the weird, like, oh, I'm gonna, like, red raptors into mid gank into enemy invade into, like, you don't pre-plan that, like, 5 minutes ahead.
Yeah.
You do it because you are in the middle of clearing raptors, intending to go to your wolves, and then you see that mid is inting, and then you walk up to them and you kill them, and then you decide now that you have killed mid, it is fine to go invade the raptors because you have prio from mid. And then you see the person on raptors, you kill them, you put a ward down in their jungle, now you have vision for an objective, and you go do the Rift Herald, and then you recall and you break bottom and win the game, okay? Like, it's that easy, right? Just keep your eyes open. It's that simple. Okay, like I seriously, I've already stressed this like so much, and I'm going to stress it even more. Keeping your eyes open is perhaps the single most important skill as a jungler that you can develop.
Right.
If you watch your lanes and the other enemy jungler does not watch their lanes, you will win like 80% of the time. It is an insane advantage. Absolutely nuts. So, that's the most important thing for you to focus on if you don't already do that. Definitely do that.
Eyes open.
Keep your eyes open. Because knowing what is happening on the map gives you all of the information that you need to start making deviations from just clearing your camps. And and those deviations, when successful, catapult you ahead in your economy and give you so much stats that you can then make inting moves and still win because you're just so far ahead. You don't have to play well if you're like 12-0. And the easiest way to become 12-0 is to keep your eyes open.
Yeah, I fucking sometimes, man. Like just the other day, I was playing mid. I believe it was a ranked game.
Mm-hmm.
The enemy, like, dragon was up in like 10 seconds. I'm pinging the shit out of it.
Yep.
Dragon comes up, enemy starts taking it. My Mumu, he's like, damn, that red buff looking kind of tasty. Let me get this red buff real quick. I'll be right back.
Now, if that is because he looked at the Drake and was like, I can't steal that, I can respect that.
Yeah, that's different. But we could definitely. It was all 5 of us at Dragon, and it was pretty early in the game.
Well, that's a kick W then.
No, red buff more important.
Become the jungler that you want to see in the world.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm gonna do.
Okay. On the whole, how do you feel at this point?
I feel like I understand it a lot better.
That's really great. I'm glad to hear that. Is there anything that still seems daunting or scary that we kind of didn't cover about jungling?
Say that one more time.
Is there anything daunting or scary about jungling that we have not covered yet that you're still unsure about, that maybe wasn't in your notes, right? That you didn't talk about with Heliodor? Like when you actually think about like loading into a game and like trying to smash people as a jungler, like what still sounds scary? I
think I'm good for now. I'm gonna go. go into a game and fuck around for a little bit and then
Great.
find things that I'm having trouble with.
Sounds good.
Like if I'm in a situation where
Great.
something feels bad,
Mm-hmm.
then
Noted.
I'll be like, hey, LA Finn, I
Perfect.
need, what do I do?
That's what I like to hear. All right. Well, if that's your instinct to go play, then I think that my job is done. So,
All right.
have fun. And,
It's League of Legends. I mean,
true. Fair. True. So, I complete the match, I'll say, instead of have fun.
Yeah, complete the match.
Complete the match. Set that as the goal. And yeah. Cool stuff, dude.
All
See
right.
you around.
Thanks a lot, man.
For sure. Peace.